to the challenges of water and food security सेशन जो पर्टिकुलरली है इसमें पॉलिसी डायलॉग ऑन द ट्रांसफॉर्मेटिव pathways for water, food and land system in a socially inclusive and climate resilient Pakistan. We have a esteemed panelists. First of all, I would invite them before the esteemed panelist is Dr. Humayun Mohammed Saab, who is a member of the Senate Standing Committee on Water Sources. Let me introduce him. Dr. Humayun Mohammed is a distinguished figure with a multifaceted career and notable contribution in various fields, currently serving as a member of several Senate committees. He plays a crucial role in shaping policies related to water sources and chairs the Committee of National Health Services, Regulation and Coordination. Beyond his political commitment, Dr. Mohammed is a renewed cosmetic surgeon, widely recognized both nationally and internationally, and he's continually working in a policy domain, and we will hear from him. Now, next is I will be requesting Ashfaq Mahmood Sahab, former Secretary, Ministry of Water Sources. Ashfaq Mahmood Sahab is a water and energy expert. He had served as a Federal Secretary in several ministries, including Planning and Development, Water and Power, IT and Telecom, Science and Technology, and Kashmir Affairs, and many other ministries there. And as a Secretary of Water and Power, he was responsible for addressing international transboundary water issues, interprovincial water sharing, overseeing the relevant institutions, including the Pakistan Commission for Indus Water River System Authority, WAPDA, and many other institutes. And he has won many prestigious awards across the globe. Now, next I will be requesting Professor Khalid Hafiz Sahab, who is the Vice Chancellor of BUTM. Dr. Khalid Hafiz is a professor of the Artificial Intelligence and Digital Transformation, was the first Pakistani to receive his PhD in Artificial Intelligence and Robotics from Cardiff University, UK in 1992. Since then, he has led many senior positions, including the Dean at universities such as Sheffield, Bradford, York, London, and Dundee, Scotland. He has also served as the Dean of Smart University at Dubai and as the Editor-in-Chief for the Journal of Future Government with the ministry in UAE. And he has supervised more than 25 PhD students and more than 100 papers in his career. Now I will also request that the Engineer Mahmoud Tahir Anwar Sahab, who is the former Director General, Federal Water Management Cell, Ministry of National Food Security and such. Tahir Anwar is by profession an agriculture engineer. He is a graduate University of Agriculture, Faisalabad, and holds a postgraduate degree from Asian Institute of Technology, Thailand. With 22 years of service at the Pakistan Agriculture Research Council in diverse roles, he later on joined the Ministry of National Food Security and such, and ultimately he retired as the Director General of Federal Water Management Cell. Thank you, sir, for joining us. We are waiting for another center, Sana Jamali, but we will start that one, the discussion. She will be joining us very soon. Let me go on that one, the scene setting. Okay, when we are talking about this session, we are talking about the globally. There are many issues on that one, but one of the main issues when we are talking about that in the context of water management, in the context of the food security, in the context of environment for Pakistan, is that one the climate change. And that is also the climate change is there, but on the top of that one, there is also issue of unsustainable utilization of resources, whether we are talking about surface water or groundwater, or water used for different sectors, including the domestic, agriculture, and industrial, and across that one. On the top of that one, there is also that the economic disturbance are impacting, which has been further exemplified by the COVID-19 in the pandemic. Also on that one, many other issues that's impacting on the food and nutrition crisis in Pakistan, poverty and conflict traps are there. To improve that one, the efficacy of intervention through the integration of short-term assistance for individual experiences crisis, it is important to look around that one, the resource utilization, how we could make them more efficient, and how we could develop the different strategies for restoration and enhancement of water and food system, and what are the out of the box solution, and that's improving the resilience of that one, the system there, and improving the productivity, ultimately leading towards that one, ensuring the sustainable management of the water and food resources there, food security. In the light of the prevailing climate crisis, we need to look around that one, how we could allocate the different adequate different resources for different purposes, and also not considering those ones that with the local institute, with the local community, with the governments, and how we could develop a more integrated approach for which could helpful in overcoming of the policy implementation on the ground. Pakistan, when we are talking about, is facing so many challenges: water scarcity, food insecurity, economic instability, and looming risk of the conflicts which we are talking about with the inside in the country and as well as in the neighboring countries. In the forces, in those pressing issues, there is a need of political action. So for today, we are having a more on a dialogue with the parliamentarians, technocrats, and as well as academicians in an open and constructive way on improving Pakistan policies related to water and food system in the context of the climate change. And this will be we'll also exploring the strategy for policymakers to work together more collaboratively with the academicians, with the Research for Development Institute towards climate resilient solution. And this session lastly will talk about that one, the dialogue which could lead on shaping the policy interventions that address the urgent and interconnected challenges facing the water, food, and land system in the context of Pakistan. So there are the how crucial issues which we need to observe. Some of the issues are there. How can policymakers collaborate with technocrats and academicians to develop and implement more effective policies that promote socially inclusive and climate resilient water and food system in the country? Is there a solution available, or do we need to? Are the policies sufficient enough, or do we need to start doing something new? When we are talking about the policies, Pakistan has so many policies. One way I often call it that Pakistan is a graveyard of all the policies. There are so many policies, but hardly any implementation. How we could improve that one, the engagement of all stakeholders for the implementation of policies. And in that context, what role parliamentarians envision for Pakistan in the regional and international collaboration to address shared water challenge, and how can the effort be leveraged to ensure cooperative and sustainable management of transboundary water sources? Last point is, do you think Pakistan is well positioned to achieve these targets under the SDG 1, which is the no poverty, and SDG 6, clean water and sanitation? What strategy we need to do it to overcome of these the complex challenges, ultimately leading towards the Pakistan for the prosperous country and the more developed country in 2047, which is the government is envisaging? And thank you very much. Now I will start that one, the dialogue. So I will be going in. First question to the Center, Humayun Mohammed Sahab. Humayun Mohammed Sahab, thanks for joining us a month ago. We discussed about some of the water sector challenges, and then you elaborated very well about that one. We need to reconfigure our system and how to bring that one the more better management of water sources and how to improve the water sources there. So I want to know that one, that considering the climate change and its impact on the water sources, what are the potential economical, ecological, and social ramifications which is happening in the context of Pakistan, and how that's impacting also on the health sector, which is also chairing the Senate Standing Committee, and health has a directly linking with the water quality, and then that the poor quality of water is impacting on the health of even the child and even for the youth and everyone. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much. You see, if I see it from the health point of view, we know that the waterborne diseases almost impact about roughly around $30 million a year of direct impact due to the communicable diseases, which is because of the waterborne disease. Now, if we address the clean water availability to the people, which is more or less prevention, we can not only reduce this burden of disease on the health sector, but also we can reduce the the alongside, which is the nutritional element towards the children, and this main problem is towards the children. So we can address two of those things. Now, how you can improve that thing, like I said last month, you see, first we need to understand that how we can improve the both the underground water and how can we manage the surface water. We know that we have got two main sources of water coming towards Pakistan. One is through the glaciers, and it's one of the three or four big sources in the world. The second is the rainwater. We are blessed with a lot of rain, but we more or less lose all this rainwater without using it. It's almost about, if we see, we have got about, let's divide it into above Terbela and below Terbela. So if Terbela is the watershed line, so 10% of the rainwater is above Terbela, because at around Terbela we get around 60 million cubic foot of water coming, and when we reach down towards Kalabagh, it's about 90 million. So that means there is an addition of about 30 million extra. And before that thing in Dasu, it's about 50 million. So all these things, so 10 million is added over there and 30 million is over there. Now, if we see all these things, Pakistan normally get about between 102 to about 100 and maximum 160, 165 million cubic foot of water every year. And what are we doing with it? Neither have we managed to give the clean water towards the lower part of the Sindh area, and that's because we haven't made the Sindh barrage. If we made the Sindh barrage, we can give a lot of sweet water towards the lower part of it. We are worried about the water erosion in the lower part of it. We are worried about the sea water, the hard water, or the salty water getting into the land. It's very easy. You can make a dike over there, just like in Holland they have made it. So you can do that thing, and that will really help. This will also help you in terms of the dike area, sorry, the delta area of the Sindh lower down. So in that way you can have a really good area for this lobster and all those things. So which, if you about 664 100,000 of hectare area, if you do that thing, roughly 100,000 hectare area will give you almost about $56,000 of worth business. So just imagine if it is about one hectare will give you that. So just imagine 663,100,000 hectare. What will that give to Pakistan? So we are actually wasting a lot of things over there. Similarly, we always have a problem towards the lower part of the Pakistan, which is Sindh again and Balochistan, that we do not get our share of the water. People in Punjab, or mainly in Punjab, they say that they have got a lot of tube wells. By the time they ask the water, you start from the up there, and by the time it takes about 7 days before it reaches down towards the Sindh area. So what they can do is that they can make a barrage at Kot Mitten, which is just near Sindh. So if they need any water, it will take hours to reach Sindh, and there wouldn't be any problem of water losses, which is the Sindh one of the biggest issues. And with the pet feeder, it can give water straight to Balochistan as well. So your problems can be solved. The problem is that Somehow, we as not only politicians, but we as the bureaucracy have failed to manage these things. I mean, we are trying to irrigate the land which is south of the KP, and we are using the lift irrigation for such a huge amount of water. Just imagine how much of electricity we will need. On the contrary, we have got a very nice place where we can do a simple gravitational flow irrigation, which will cost us 500 as opposed to 1500 per million cubic foot. So we are trying to find out solutions which are more expensive and more difficult to maintain as opposed to that. And we all talk about that, look, we can't have a bigger dams, because if you see the world at large, they have used all the locations of large dams. And in Pakistan, we still have a place and that can play a vital role. And last time and everywhere, I tried to give the importance, the strategic importance of Kalabagh Dam. That is one dam. If we make it, we can control this flood water. This is about almost 30 million cubic foot of water, and what we can do is that from there we can have a sort of link to Rasool from Kalabagh Rasool link, and take it towards the Jhelum, and in that way we can stop the water of the Mangla Dam. We have already raised the Mangla Dam, and we can't fill it in 5 years. We only fill it once. So if we divert this water towards Jhelum, we can fill the Mangla every year. And from there, we can actually go towards the eastern rivers, and even to a link towards the Hakra River, which is towards the Cholistan area. And I think 1830s or something, after that, this when the dam was created on Hakra, this area has become barren. So by making Kalabagh Dam, we can actually not only cater for this almost about 1.4 million acre area of southern KP. We can also go towards the southern part of the and eastern part of the Pakistan and Sindh. So we can actually divert this water a lot. But then there are simple things that we don't do. We don't harvest rainwaters at our rooftops, which is the cleanest water. We don't make these rechargeable wells. I mean, if you go to Islamabad, you go to Karachi, Lahore, we see all these, any kind of rain, and we see all these roads being submerged in that water. So all we have to do is that make these wells, which are rechargeable wells, along that area. You don't have to throw that water into the river. You can recharge it and send it back into the ground, and in that way you can manage it very well. So I do not know why those people who are in a position to take decisions, for example, let's say LDA, CDA, Karachi Development Authority, when they are giving these contracts to different people to develop lands, or even an individual people to make their houses, it's a simple thing. You make a soaking pit sort of thing. It's a well. It's about 8 feet and about 40 feet deep. You just put rings, cover it, make sure that all the drainage water is going into that. You are recharging that. That's a very simple solution. You can do that thing everywhere. And then the other problem is our industrialists, especially the industries which are using a lot of water, like leather, like sugar industry. So they can be asked to help towards managing the water at these levels, and they can do it. We can make, instead of, like solar system, we are doing the net metering, we can do a wet metering. That means we can actually see how much these companies and how much we are trying to put the water towards the to refill the under underground table. So in that way we can measure those things, which can help Pakistan a lot. We know that over the last 1 or 2 decades, about, at least in some areas, the water table has gone down by about 700 to 1,000 feet. That's a lot. So we need to make sure that our policies are made in such a way, and not only made in such a way, they need to be implemented in such a way that we make sure that the water scarcity is not there. I'll just give an example. Pakistan is among 14 countries which are water scarcity in years to come. Although Pakistan is one of the few countries which has got the richest, the Indus basin. If you go northwards of the Himalayas, you will have this yellow river in China. You will have this Ganga towards India, and in Bangladesh as well. So around this Himalayas, you will have all these things. In spite of that, why are we there? As opposed to that, Egypt, which has got almost 38, around 38 to 40 million cubic foot of water, and they are irrigating about 80 million acre of land over there. We are using 102 million cubic foot of water, and we are only irrigating 48 million acres of land. So that means we are using 3 times the water, and we are irrigating half of the land. Now, that is how incompetent our system is. That is, and when I've started to read this thing, trust me, my heart aches. We could have done this thing long time back. When we say about economy, let me translate this water into economy. 1 million cubic foot of water is equivalent to 1 billion or $2 billion. So if we are not utilizing only this rainwater, which is about 30 million cubic foot of water, we are destroying $60 billion a year, between 30 to 60 billion if you calculate it by 1 or 2 billion, like that. So we are actually losing a lot of revenue over there. And the global warming is a phenomena, although our contribution is less than 1%, but it's going to come with all these gloves and everything's coming up. So we need to prepare ourselves for that. So for that matter, we need to make sure that in different areas, like in this Potwar area and other area, we need to make these check dams, swales, check dams, where we can hold the water, or at least slow down the speed of this water, so that the devastation is less. Now, these floods, when they come, they not only give you damages of the crop and everything, it takes you almost twice as much to bring it back to where it was. And if you see this 2022, Rahim Yar Khan, if you compare Rahim Yar Khan and Sakhar, you will see that it was equal amount of rain, but there was more devastation in one area than the other, because one was managed properly or better than the other. Out of 4 drains in Pakistan, 3 are closed. Why? Because we have allotted that land towards the building and all those things. Now, most of the damages in Punjab and KP was more or less around the rivers and that thing, not outside that, as opposed to Sindh and Balochistan, where the river outflow itself. So that is where we need to learn how to manage ourselves. If we can manage it properly, then if we are talking about 2047, I think we can reach that much earlier. Again, as I said, the problem is that somehow our priorities are not there, somehow we are not managing it properly. um, and if we do that thing, I think we can not only now. Let me say this thing. If you ask me, I would stop all the PSDP for 5 years, and I'll put that money towards building these things and managing it. Because once we manage and build this thing, we will earn much more than all those development budgets that we are putting towards the roads and everything. So for 5 years, if you ask me, I'll put all my money towards these projects.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Senator Saab. I mean, highlighting the need of the nature-based solution to augment the water supply, not at the major reservoir, but also at locally, at everywhere, and also the need of the better water conservation, especially in agriculture sector, where we are in terms of the water productivity, we are even lower 3 times than the India, 6 times than the China, and as well as in the 12 times the US or Australia. So we really need to improve on that one. I will come back to you on particularly some of the things on the waterborne disease and what the ministry is thinking, what the your Senate Standing Committee is doing it. But now let me go to the Tahar Ahmed Sahab, that agriculture sector is using around the 90% of water, and then there are four major crops which are using 80% of the one. Now we know that one, the agriculture is a provincial one issue since 18 amendment. But then when we are looking around the food system, the impact of fragmented structure of the food system across various vertical, federal versus provincial, and horizontal, that's a sectorial or territorial one, levels of the governance and local support and initiative is a matter of concern. What is the optimal methodology for establishing a connection between the top down from a national to the bottom up to the provincial one matrix with the intent of transformative process within the food system? Sir.
Thank you, Dr. Mohsen. I'm extremely grateful to the organizer and especially Dr. Mohsen for providing me the opportunity. As you rightly said, the agriculture sector is a major user of the water, which is about the 90% of the water goes, surface water goes to the agriculture sector. And when you talk about the water, groundwater, about of 52 million acre feet of water, 50 million acre feet being extracted for the agriculture sector. And it is augmenting the 50% needs of the irrigation, the requirement of the agriculture crops. To my understanding, water insecurity and the food insecurity are the threat multiplier for the national security. And these are the two sectors. If we are insecure in these two sectors, it means we are compromising of the national security. And as regards which you have mentioned that what policy measures are required for the provincial governments, especially the post-devolution scenario. When you look at the pre-devolution, when the federal government is funding the water projects, agriculture sector, looking after the agriculture sector, the development budget which is spent on agriculture has been reduced by 50% after devolution. Meaning thereby that agriculture sector has not been given the due preference, even at the federal level and at the provincial level. Though the provincial governments have got the resources, financial resources which is required for their development, but unfortunately don't have the capacity. At this point, I must question the responsibilities of the parliamentarians. Before going into the devolutions, they have to think about the capacities of the provincial government to spend the resources, financial resources, which are to be diverted. One question to my parliamentarians and the policymakers, whether it's bureaucratic channels or the political masters, are they not aware of the issues which we are confronting in the water sector and the food security sectors? Don't they know that Pakistan is a water mismanaged country? We have the resources available. Almost 100 million acre feet annually has been diverted, surface water has been diverted to the canals, but hardly it reaches 60% of the water has been not been effectively utilized for the production of the, not been in the food production. And meaning thereby we have only 40% efficient. And by conservative estimates, 1 in 8 million acre feet lost mean we are not comparing our food production system, we are losing about $1 billion annually. So if we are diverting 100 million acre feet of water to the canal system, and we are utilizing only the 50% of that, meaning thereby we are 50 billion. At 50 billion annually has been lost, dollars has been lost in economic terms. Are we not aware of the resource command area? The Honorable Senator had mentioned the harvesting of the rain. There are about 772 small dams all over Pakistan. And believe you me, only 15% of their command area has been developed. When you look at the mini dams in the Pothohar region of KP and the Barani area of the Punjab, there are about 3,000 mini dams. And there it's only 20% area has been developed. Instead of investing into the larger infrastructure, to my understanding, policymakers should focus primarily on development of the command area. If we develop the command area of these already constructed mini dams and the small dams, we can bring into cultivation about more than 600,000 acres of land. Are we policymakers are not aware of the potential of the hill tolerance? A study has been conducted in 1998 by the WAPDA that shows the hill torrent generates annually about 17 million acre feet of water. And the wasteland which can be brought into cultivation, it is 7 million hectare of land. If we harvest that, if we harvest 10% or 20% of that hill torrents, manage those hill torrents, look, we can shift we can meet the needs of the future growing population of Pakistan, which is by 2050, it is going to be touching by about 400 million people. Are we not aware of the issues, the parliamentarians and the policymakers? They are aware of the issues. But thing is the policies. As Dr. Mohsen, you have mentioned that we in Pakistan have the plethora of policy documents, action plans, commission reports, blah, 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 Friend of Democratic Pakistan reports, World Bank reports and reports. And Pakistan is considered to be a graveyard of the policies and the action plans, unfortunately. Policies are made for the sake of the policies. It is shelved, never been implemented. When you look at the national water policy, it has been enforced, it has been launched in 2018. Look at the national food security policy, launched in 2018. Now we look at the framework for the implementation of the climate change action plan, climate change policy, 2012, now it has been revived. Hardly there has been any cohesion or any interaction between the departments, ministries at the federal level or the provincial levels for the implementation of those policies. So there is a need, to my understanding, at the national level, at the federal level, to bring together all the institutions, all the stakeholders, involve the private sector. I think if the resources are not there, involve the private sector for the implementation of those policies. And policies should, another issues to my understanding is the implementation of the policies. There is no consistency in the successive governments to implement the projects which the previous government has started. This is the very unfortunate part on the part of the parliamentarians, especially. Fortunately, we have the parliamentarians sitting with us. I think they have to look into this. There should be at least the consistency of the policies of the previous government, which is useful for the masses, which is useful, which has been devised and formulated in consultation with the provincial governments for the benefits of the masses. ये उर्दू में कहते हैं कि वो तख्ती लगाने वाला हमारा जो है ना एक कॉन्सेप्ट वो थोड़ा सा that has to be changed, that needs to be changed now, and we have to honor the policies which are people accepted, which are beneficial for the communities, for the benefit of the peoples, irrespective of the government which has launched that policies. So when your food security and the water security are interlinked, and the water losses, instead of successive governments, they have given, we do say that agriculture is the backbone of our country. But unfortunately, all the political governments are hitting hard that backbone. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Taharan Musaf, for highlighting that one, the critical issues of that one, and also asking the thought-provoking question. You have raised many questions. I think one of the thing is key finding is there are the certain projects which has been developed for the improving the water security or the food security for the national cause. But the national cause is also changing with the change of any political government. And therefore, we are hoping that when the Senate members who have a bit longer period of time, 6 years, their turn is not ending after 3 years or after the change of the government. So they will be able to play a critical role in the Senate standing committees and help us in that transformation journey. I will come back to you on some of the questions which you have asked. Now, let me first formally welcome to Senator Sana Jamali. Thanks, Senator Sabha, for joining us today. And Senator Sana Jamali is a part of the Senate since 2015, and she is very much committed and devoted in that one, the improving the water conservation, improving the water management as a part of Senate Standing Committee on water sources, and she is doing a lot of the initiatives and some of the activity in Balochistan area, especially which is the most vulnerable and marginalized groups who are impacted on due to water scarcity. I will come back to you. Formally welcome. Thank you for joining us. Now, let me move to the Dr. Ishfaq Sab, Ishfaq Mahmood Sab, who is the former Secretary, Ministry of Water Sources, and he has worked as a Secretary of Planning Commission as well as Water Sources. So my question is to him. We know that there is around only 60% of people have that one. Only 38% of people have the safe access of drinking water. Around 60% people don't have it. And we also know that 45% of children had stunted growth in Pakistan, with the children which are below 5 years. Do you think that Pakistan is well poised to attain the targets under SDG 1, no poverty, and SDG 6, clean water and sanitation? What do you think should be our urgent priority? How we could achieve that target, or do we have already missed the boat? I just want to know your thoughts.
Thank you very much. My thoughts flow from what I just heard from Senator Saab and Tahir Saab, and that is that whereas SDG 1 and SDG 6 have spelled out a number of targets and number of achievements which we must attain, the real problem lies in implementation. Now, if we can gird our loins and tighten our belts and get down to implementation, then I think, to be very direct to your question, that as far as the clean water availability is concerned, it is manageable and it can still be achieved. What would it need? It would need a number of things. First of all, it would need that all the provinces have cohesion in their thoughts, and they should learn from each other's experience. Second, they should allocate a reasonable amount or the amount required for meeting these targets, which are set in SDG 1 and SDG 6. Now, that means, coming to Senator Saab's point and Tahir's point, that we might give highest priority in the allocation of PSDPs to PHEDs and municipal funding and so on and so forth. The third thing is that we must improve our implementation machinery. Now, in implementation machinery, there are so many loopholes. First of all, I remember I met Vasa some times ago, Lahore, and what I found was that they had projects, they had thoughts, they had developed programs, but neither there was funding, nor was there any escape from the red tape. The authority does not vest in the Vasa's chairman to do the things. So it is easy to say that we will achieve and we will have funding. We must also improve our institutional arrangement so that we delegate authorities and we delegate funds. And if we can do that, that is the beginning of achievement of the SDG targets. Now, having said that, as far as clean water is concerned, you also heard in the morning preliminary session that we are polluting our water. So whether it is urban or whether it's rural, in fact, rural is a pathetic situation. And even in urban, where we drain our industrial effluents in the mainstreams, where our Vasas don't have money to supplement or augment and rehabilitate the infrastructure, there, no matter whatever we talk about in policies, the achievements will not be there. So first of all, we should also focus on cleaning the water from the sources that are coming. I was looking at the Ravi project, which is a Ruda project, and surprisingly, the project document states that there are 18 drains full of filth which fall in the Ravi even today. Now, we don't have to wait for Ruda project to be implemented for in next 20 years and don't have to look for money from the donors and so on and so forth. If we can clean our drains that are falling in the aquifer and in the whatever water pool we have, then we can have access to very safe water in Lahore. And this is the situation in Sialkot. This is the situation in Kasur. This is the situation in Faisalabad. This is the situation in Karachi. So it is not that just we talk about implementation and leave it at that. We need to provide means for implementation, and we must hold accountability. We must hold everyone accountable for doing these things. For instance, if you look at the policy implementation framework of the National Water Policy of 2018, it is quite a joke. You see, there is a CCI meeting which will be held once in 1 year, which never happens in that frequency. There is a Ministry of Water Resources which will have an institution for monitoring the implementation, which hardly meets. It will have a steering committee which will hardly meet. So if that is the situation, that we have a very top-heavy arrangement written in the papers, and even that doesn't meet. In the last 4 years, the meeting of the Council of Common Interest was only focused on this issue of water only once. And that also, it couldn't cover the agenda number 1. So what I'm trying to say is that each province, in each irrigation department, there should be a monitoring committee level where it should be that every month there should be a report from all the institutions as to what have they done, for instance, for the drinking water projects. And what have they done, and if it reaches the irrigation department, it should not stop there. It should be the first item in the cabinet meeting of each province, that there should be a review of what is being done. So if we are focusing on getting SDG 1 implemented and clean water to be provided to them, there should be that kind of priority. Only priority in terms of projects and in terms of money will not suffice, unless we demand accountability, just as the RAP project, Water Resource Accountability Project. we need to give it a frequency of review and then accountability. And accountability comes with money. So if we give money to Vasas only, then they can be accountable. Same is true for the rural areas. In the rural areas, there are ponds and there are different schemes of PHEDs. Now, what I was revealed in different meetings was, and that I had also known when I was Secretary, Water and Power, that in many cases, the contracts are given to blue-eyed contractors. The contracts, there's a lot of pilferage of money. We are talking about pilferage of water. We have a wastage of water. There's a lot of money which goes to these blue-eyed contractors. In fact, many of the times, the local authorities, it's not necessarily the senators or the MNAs, it's also the local authorities and influencers. They want the contracts to be given to their very own people. So if we want to achieve the target, we also need, besides giving accountability, review, and money, we also need to make sure that transparency exists. Now, we can talk about it we have been talking about it for years. Now, if we have a monthly accountability, only then we can see that by 2030, we would be able to achieve something. Otherwise, we will not be able to achieve. Now, then comes the portfolio of projects. When we look at the planning departments, they have lots of projects which are made for different sectors, but as far as the water availability for drinking water is concerned, there are not enough projects. The projects pertain to mostly urban areas and the colonies and the societies, not for the rural areas where the people are having open defecation. They are having no water. The buffaloes and the animals drink water from the same ponds. So where are those details? So that reach must be there, and all of these must be presented in one form or the other. Otherwise, we will not be able to achieve the desired availability of things. Now, lastly, I would like to say that there has to be an interprovincial coordination also. If there are certain experiences that are good in, say, Punjab or Sindh, they should be able to share. There should be a quarter after every quarter of year, there must be a conference where they should share their experiences so that they know how to handle the things. Now comes the issue of salinity. Now again, we are only talking about large projects, and we are saying that huge dams and infrastructure can suffice. That will not suffice. We need to talk to the people in the communities and then evolve projects, but that has to be done on war footing. If we do not do it on war footing, then we will not be able to implement and achieve the targets. So the short answer is yes, it is achievable given the kind of implementation measures that I am telling. If these are not done, then we will miss the boat. Thank you.
Thank you, Ishfaq sir, for highlighting that the need for better coordination and then the continuous monitoring and accountability on the progress what we have made, and how we could bring the additional resources and ultimately improving the governance, and that will help us in achieving that one, the SDG goal 1 and SDG 6. Let me move to that, the Balochistan province, and now I will be going to the Professor Khalid Hafiz sir. Khalid Hafiz sir, we heard about that one, that there is water scarcity issues and all sort of issues there. But Balochistan, except that when the two river basin, the remaining river basin is totally different, disconnected from the Indus basin. And in those basins, non-Indus basin of Balochistan, there is roughly around 11 million acre foot of water is coming long-term average per year. Out of that 11 million acre foot, we have only capacity of 1 million acre foot of water, but at the same time, the farmers are pumping that when the groundwater, and groundwater has rapidly declined, going to even more than 1200 foot in Koita and other valleys there. So my question is, how can the implementation of artificial intelligence and digital technologies like remote sensing, GIS, can contribute to ensure the water security in the agriculture sector, which is heavily polluting the groundwater, particularly in the context of pollution, and what strategy would you recommend for sustainable water use in agriculture practices in the context of AI and then the digital technologies? Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum. Yeah, I think it's Such a tough question you have asked me, actually. I'm an AI person, but in the context of Balochistan, while I'm sitting in there only last 3 months, 4 months. But nevertheless, I think there are 2, 3 things which are very, what I've learned today and which I want to share with you. And I'll come to your point with the technology side of it. I think I would like to address, to start with the policy. And this is repeatedly I heard about the graveyard of policies and the implementation side of it. So I will give a little example of my take on it, my 2 pence on it, and then I'll move it to your main question. And I give example on policy implementation from the context of UK, where I spent 37 years, and what I've been hearing for last 10 years about using non-fossil fuels and renewable energy and moving to electric car. And this plan and policy came as a push for last 10 years. And that 10 years was that by 2030, UK or European Union will come out of using fossil fuels and start using the electric cars by that time. So where the policy documentation was there, how they move into implementation. And the implementation came with a number of intermediate steps. They started with a soft push, first of all, and started encouraging that, making the mindset and awareness campaign with the public, the end users, that they should be start thinking about moving towards that. And then they started bringing in slowly the regimes which discouraged the use of CO2 and CO2 cars. So for example, you have to go through every year by MOT tests, and where they will check your exhaust and then how much CO2 emission is there and the sulfur and the. And they started monitoring it as a third body, which is doing it, not a public sector. They started monitoring it with a tough regime there. And slowly, what they did, they have the legal instruments developed to force to implement the policy by the time people are not accepting it. So there are different steps. In the meantime, what they've done is that they have encouraged the electric car users and clean technologies with tax holidays and other incentives to establish that base, those clusters, and inviting people to do it and giving funding from the different organizations to start doing it. And at the same time, they started more taxing on people who are using the CO cars. So you can see a mixture and myriad of policies, incentives, pushes, nudges, and awareness campaign, which is taking you from that 10 years period, from a policy is built and how a policy will be implemented. So my question is that once we're looking into these policies, if we say, okay, go and implement it tomorrow, then it's not going to happen as a human being. So that process of that 10 years for such a big sea changes in such systems, I think we have to go through that. And one example I was saying, because I've been teaching strategy as well, to your surprise, I'm doing AI and technology with AI strategy and technology strategy to big CEOs in there. One thing we do develop, after policy comes the strategy. And with the strategy, enforcement comes in with the KPIs. So if we think for Pakistan, water, food, energy, climate change, it's such a big question. Then why not these 4 KPIs as a common denominator embedded into all policies all across? So once you're looking at the financial impact and social impact, why not it should be seen in terms of these 4 common denominators? And people who are sitting in the entities, echelons, why not these 4 KPIs are part of all PC1s which are submitted to you? All the projects coming through you should have those 4 PIs. That if you're doing a time planning, if you're doing even a new shopping center, if you're building up a new big building, the usage of water, how is it going to impact the climate change? And why not you have a tax put in there for those big housing schemes to have some rebate to start developing the reconstruction of the climate. So it has to see in that wholesome fashion. And the idea which we were talking about this morning, I think we have to work together in a holistic way. And the holistic way in the past used to be that, okay, you have a triple helix model. that you have the entities, you have the universities or academia, and you have the commercial organizations. But now within that helix comes in another 2 points, which are the media and the community and the people. So we have to get them involved in creating that holistic policy change and the implementation, and they all should be part and parcel of it. One thing which I'm thinking very missing in Pakistan and in even all third world countries, all over Middle East, in Asia is, there is no political aim with the climate change. So we can see the advent of green parties in Germany, UK, Sweden, Norway, Scandinavian countries, even in USA. Their main motive is looking into this green climate, water resources, inequality, and this accountability and governance which we're talking about. That are their main manifesto. So while we're talking about community campaign, I think a political push should be through a party sitting in there for all debate within the parliament, pushing in these for the public interest. So if all other parties are not putting it as part of their manifesto, it has become part of their public interest. If you think about companies, while companies are competing against each other, they used to compete on the basis of cost, quality, lead time, customer service. The biggest thing now they're winning their business is on environmental concerns. So how they're dealing the environment. And your youngsters, teenagers, they're buying material, they're buying their goods, services, even a jean and apparel, that how they're going to impacting the environment. So there's a big push going on that. And I think we should be ready and we should get our green movement, which we're talking about, geared towards moving to that direction to create a real push in the society, taking it through in the political scene and taking it forward in terms of owning this problem for themselves. And I think perhaps that can lead into some change. If you allow me time now, I can address the technology question. If I don't have time, then I can let other people speak. Okay, so I come to BTM only 3-4 months ago. And my understanding of implementing policy is always, okay, what is latest available in the world? The latest technology. So I brought in with the AI. And I say, I want to have AI in Balochistan. There's very little industry, but with the AI and software professionals developed, they can do a business directly with the global world. That is the idea. So I brought in this idea of global citizenship for our students, our learners, and doing business in that direction. So what I've done in last 4 months. So I'm seeking to set up AI Academy in Butams in the university. So that is helped by UNCHR. So we're going to have labs which will look into all aspects of AI technologies, which is interactive marketing, you will have Python programming, you'll have robotics, you will have AI labs, and other sensing business with that. Second center, which I'm establishing and is going to start very soon with the help of European Union, and EMI is one of the partner within that, is Center for Excellence in Water, Food, Energy Security, and Climate Change. And the third center, which I'm setting up is what other problem we have, Ma'am Sana, you would know. We go through about seismic zones, disaster management. Whether seismic zone or the flood disaster is still a disaster. So what my thinking is that I bring in the latest technology and solving the local problems. These are the local problems we have to resolve and we have to solve. So that is one way of connecting how you want to implement policy into implementation. And with that, we are working and we have risk and disaster management working with the Chinese government and obviously with the HSC that is approved. So these 3 centers are approved, which we want to take it forward in terms of one way of how we are taking that our journey forward. So in terms of AI, the AI can be used in many areas and which is used already in many areas. And I'll say where BTM is using it. Let me give you a little bit of a spread out where it is used. So in terms of agriculture sense, in the world, it can be used in terms of precision farming. So where you talk about data and data capture. So you can have drones, you can have satellite imagery, you can have GI systems to collect data of different soil conditions, different crops, water usage, uh, and you can have the optimal planting. You can have the weather seasons data, and you can have optimal planting seasons, and you can look at the ranges in which you can have do a proper irrigation and harvesting time as well, looking at that data. You can do crop monitoring, in which you can detect pesticides, for example, disease controls. You can look at things which is to do with the deficiencies, nutrient deficiencies in different crops. So you can bring different interventions and preventive methods to come with it. You can have the predictive analysis in terms of a modeling technique with the harvesting. We can have, for example, in the West, there are harvesters and tractors which are equipped with the AI tools, and they're looking at the different sizes of the crops, the conditions of crops, and they go into automatic harvesting. So Babaji has just left. I don't want to say that we are thinking about capturing their farming with the human resource we have, but that AI can be used in the farming much more and harvesting methods with human interaction much more effectively. But there's a lot more role to do with AI in the food supply chain, both vertical level and lateral level. In the food supply chain, start with the green food supply chain. Start with the food mileage, optimization of the food mileage, where it is produced, where the raw material come in, where it is consumed, and how we can minimize that. So it's not only where you can sell it most effectively, you have to include the carbon mileage, the impact within the total monetary value of that once you're doing the value added. So how we can create that and bring it in the curriculum so people understand that this is part of the accounting system. So that will encourage local produce for local people, local companies. We can look at logistics and food demands in different places, and we look at the supply and demands, and we can calculate that, okay, if there is a bumper harvesting somewhere and where is bumper demand, but we should go through that milk round of more intelligent way of coming a logistics route, that whether it makes sense or not in terms of the climate and the environmental protection. Quality control, I mean, when I was doing my PhD in 1980s, to be precise, 88, 89, I was using AI for doing the eye vision within the eyesight. You know, the different people, we have a lot of images, and that was detecting different diseases at that time. So we can use it easily in the food quality. Thinking about Pakistan as the fourth or fifth largest dairy food industry. Fresh meat, which is now we started exporting to Middle East and maybe far away. So we can use the AI technology in terms of quality control of food conditions, freshness, odor, color, and all aspects of that with the daily products. Food safety, obviously, we can look into that, whether the food is safe or not. You know, the odor sensors which can bring in. And then we can look at food safety from what we use in AI technology, a blockchain. So just like a blockchain, you have a filing system that you have a complete visibility that where the file is started and who is intervened. If you look at a food supply chain, it can food where it's originated, which steps is going through. You can have all the monitoring system and visibility about the contamination issues. And you can look at the wastewater at the same time. We're talking about the industry pollution of water. So water pollution, you can do a monitoring of how much water is leaving from that industry and what is the quality of that water. So on-light quality detection can be done with the help of AI tools. I'll just spend few 2 or 3 minutes on what we do as BUTEMs in terms of these projects. So one of the things which we're doing is online monitoring of water bed within the Quetta Valley. So we got 14 wells in there, and we put in different sensing systems. And with the technology, it is RF technology. We come up with a monitoring simulator tool. So all that data to looking at different parts of the Quetta Valley. So how is the impact in the bed level? And we know that last year when the flooding came, some part of the bed rose by 4 feet during those months. So, but we want to expand it into maybe 80 wells and so on. So that's some kind of work we're doing. And then we're doing another work which is looking at water basin inflow and outflow in Quetta Valley. So where the water is coming through, and after 15 miles where it is outflow, so we can do the quantifying at least that how much is water bed and how much is the quantity in there and how much is the leakages within there and what to do. So that will come into our database. And as you know, the data science and database and data intelligence is one of the key factor which we want to do in future with regards to anything we want to do in terms of policy making, a data bank. Third project we're looking at is the deforestation of juniper and pine forest, especially in Ziyarat. So how it is depleting with time. So we have a moisture sensors, we have a RF technology, and through our GIS system, we're doing the online monitoring of topology, green topology of those regions, and we see that how it is depleted. And just like I think 2 days back, we seen a very alarming photo in the a picture in the Dawn newspaper. We're showing exactly same glacier region in our Gilgit area, north area. The 10 years ago, how much glacier were there, and now they see as a barren rocks, as was shown by that young person this morning. So the idea is that how deforestation is impacting on some of the the juniper forest, which is one of the second largest forests in the world. And since I've come in, I say technology is not enough. You need to have, looking at the sustainability, you look at the human mind. So we're starting at the back of a project that we are working with from the sociology aspect. So we're looking at their farmers or buskers, but we're looking at their sons and daughters who are involved in that business, how they see these forests, how important it is for them. So mindset and taking them along, that whether they want to protect it or not. So that kind of a campaign we want to start in terms of meeting technology and sociology. And I think the last one we're doing is we're doing a DNA analysis, DNA maps of ecology, different species in some part of Balochistan. We're doing a DNA barcoding for that. We want to create a database. At least we know what species we have, and we want to go with the vegetation as well. And if we have funding, then we want to move into different regions of Balochistan and doing that. So I think I'll stop there, but in terms of I hope I try to do justice with your question. Thank you.
Thank you, Khalid Hafeeza, for elaborating that the AI applications and also on the different innovative ideas are your ambitious plan, establishing the new centers and how those centers will be helpful for transforming the food and water system in Balochistan, and how that could be beneficial for other part of the Pakistan. Now we'll be moving to Center Sana Jamali. Whatever the technology we are talking about, the important is how we could make sure that when the working with the communities, and then the significance of incorporating the marginalized communities, especially the women farmers, the women at the household level, small scale landholders, involving them in the decision making it's a must thing, but that's not happening most of the time. Now we need to think about that one, how we could bring it as social inclusivity of that one, of those marginalized women farmers, marginalized land holders, that one, if we are really thinking about the transformation of food, water and land system. If we want to achieve that one, we need to make sure that the marginalized, vulnerable communities are really informed on that one, the advantages of inclusive and climate resilient food and water systems, so that they are able to contribute in developing the systematic solutions and contributing there. So Center Sadhan Jumali, I mean, based on your extensive work in Balochistan, and you also representing the Balochistan, which is facing the huge water scarcity, could you please share your thoughts?
Thank you very much. I've been listening everyone's discussion, and they were very fruitful discussions. Sorry for the delay. First of all, I should concentrate bureaucrat Saab's things that hardly we have got CCI meetings. Whenever there's a new prime minister come, it's the irrigated Pell people, they convince him that please have a CCI meeting. We have got the water shortages. Between the year 21 and 23, I used to go to Khan Saab that please have a CCI meeting. He said, why? I said, because I don't have water to drink. Here I get daily rain, but in Balochistan I don't have a single drop of water to drink. These were the things. I used to get my duties done with the foreign delegation so that I should meet the Prime Minister. Last time, tragic flood happened, and we are the sufferers. 2010 floods, 2012, 2023. Mr. Abid Latif, what he knows, he has become, I think, a little bit Balochistan-y. What our colleagues said, the dams should be preserved. We have got hundreds of dams. We have got thousands of of rainfall we get, but the dams are destroyed because the amount of the rainfall which we had last year, it was terrible. All the dams have been vanished. I need to ask you people that we politicians are blamed. We come for 5 years. Dr. Humayun is sitting. There's just an example that for a simple MRI machine, it has taken 3 years to convince our bureaucrats. Usually when we come to Islamabad, we have been told the politicians are not doing. If you think from a grassroots level, that first we fight our war with the local people, that we want to contest election. Then we come to Islamabad. In the house of 340, what does 320 matters to you? We have got senators, we have got bureaucrats. First of all, we have to open our heart. Previously, there used to be very few bureaucrats who used to tell to the Prime Minister, sir, this is wrong. This is the need of an hour. I'm in water committee. I belong to an agriculture sector. I said, why the dams are being not constructed? It's the bureaucrat who is ruling the Pakistan. It's not we are ruling the Pakistan. I might be very much selfish. It's the bureaucratic policies. Last year we had floods. Nobody wanted to come to Balochistan because of security reasons. We pretended that we are giving funds. Where were the donors? And if we think if we look at the 2010 floods, 100% donors were there. Why were not there? Minister of Water Resources was informed. NDMA was informed in March. We just were fighting for our political reasons that climate catastrophe will come. Who are the sufferers? We are the sufferers. Our VC from Balochistan is here. If you travel from Balochistan, we have got different topographic features. Who will come to Gwadar? We have got hundreds of millions of Gwadar. COP28 is happening. Who is representing the province of Balochistan? I'm asking the government. Though we get the interim prime minister, just for an interim period, we only had in 75 years one elected prime minister. Interim prime minister does not have anything. And then we get to see the pictures that he's standing at the back. He's interim prime minister. He does not have executive authorities. He's here for the election purposes. In 75 years, we just had Chairman Senate. When we come to Islamabad, it's been my 5th year. We have got equal representation in Senate. Our promise is a little bit backward. The first thing I get from is that whether they are from Balochistan, whether she knows anything or not. It took me 5 years to make my place in this province, in Pakistan. We have to see the grassroots level. I am an agriculture woman myself. We know that 75% of Pakistan depends upon agriculture. We get the tail end of water. Only one mega project, Kachi Canal. We don't have funds for that. It's the CCI who has to discuss. It's not the agriculture people who have to tell them, who have to contact the Chief Minister Sindh, who have to contact the Chief Minister Balochistan, who have to contact the Prime Minister that please have CCI meeting. We don't have drinking water. We don't have drinking water in Saifullah Shah. We don't have drinking water in the Gudu Barrage. Why a lady of Balochistan should stand? Hundreds of millions of funds are there. Where is the climate fund? I'm asking you. Juniper forest, one of the largest forests of Balochistan. It preserves water. But nobody wants to come. We are happy to go to Gilgit because the glaciers are melting. The future of Pakistan lies in Balochistan. When our Prime Minister goes to Lums, They say that why you are here. They don't realize that he has got a big heart. He came. These are the things we are facing. When there is elected chairman Senate in 75 years, 3 times vote of confidence he has faced because he's from Balochistan. He can't run the house. There was, we used to elect our seats. I'm just touchy today. 3 years we waited that that house should be collective so that we should have 81 seats in the province of Balochistan. So that our people should represent each and every part of Balochistan, because 40% of area covers Balochistan. Last year, whole Quetta was being flooded. Cantonment was flooded. Our area was flooded. Still, we have not recovered from the flood. Now, again, we are having fields, rice fields are there, but we have got a risk that we will have rainfall anytime because the system is there. We have to sit togetherly that what we want to do for Pakistan, irrespective of party politics, irrespective of 18 amendments. We Balochi people are just needed for transformation into different parties. We don't have heart. We don't want to develop. Our VC has gone 3 months. You would have seen the students' voice over there. They want to develop. Daily, we have to climb stairs. We are being used. Why can't we be utilized? Why our water is not being used for an advantage purpose? We have got hundreds of millions of water. The quota water scarcity is in front of us. 1700 mm we have to dug our waters. Tanker system is there. The best fruit we have got. The best quality dry fruit is there. All over Pakistan, we represent World Economic Forums. We represent COP28. We represent CPEC China. But have you ever thought from our side that what we think? Is Islamabad realizing that luckily we have got this interim Prime Minister, Anwarul Kakar, that any representation from irrigated belt is going to Balochistan to represent in COP? Any representation from Balochistan is going to represent in CPEC? Other than the 20 people? We have got brains. You were asking that how to convince the women farmers? Each and every woman is ready to work for the development of province. We have to change the perception. It will only be changed unless or until we have to broaden our perspective. We have hardly any bureaucrats, hardly 1 or 2 in the federal sectors. We hardly had any directors. 70 posts are vacant. We've been asking in the Senate that please fill these spaces so that the people from the ground level should know that what are our mistakes. One bitter example I should tell you, that in Murray we have got gas. Sui Southern Gas, it's in the federal subject. Why the engineers were unable to tell to the people of Balochistan, we know that our literacy is low, that they used to have 17 mm pipe in Murray, that why can't? Why our people should raise voice? Since 1960, the gas is there in the city of Quetta. In 2000, the gas came in the city of Ziyarat. And we had only 18-inch pipe. We have got canal system. Thanks to the Britishers who made our canals. It's been 2 years, we have gone through the climate catastrophe. We used to beg to the UN Secretary General that please come and visit Balochistan. We are also part of this. We have to broaden our perspectives. We have to see the ground root level. Things have changed. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator Sana Jumali, for highlighting some of the on-ground realities and then some of the complex challenges. We don't have any answer of those questions which you have asked, but yes, many of the questions are very valid, and we will continue this dialogue. But looking at the time, I want to give it also the fair chance to the audience who are sitting here. But before going in that one, I will give you 1 minute each to each of the panel members so that they could highlight that one, anything else which they want to cover it, starting with Senator Humayun Mohammed sir.
Well, I've heard all my esteemed panelists and my honorable colleague, Senator Sana Jamali. Um, you see, how I see things in Pakistan, I see that we as Pakistanis are responsible for it. We, the elite. The elite doesn't mean the people with the money. The elite means the people who are sitting on the position where they can take decisions. Our basic problem, as pointed out earlier, was more of a nepotism, where we place a person in a position where he should not be in the first place. That's the biggest problem. And who is responsible? It's us. It's politicians, it's bureaucrats, it's people influential. Now, I do hear Senator Sana Jamali was complaining about that. I ask question from myself. What have we been doing? For example, I would ask the people, the politicians, the elected people, the senators for the last 75 years who have been elected from Balochistan, what have they done for their people? Now, it's very easy to point out fingers towards the center, but at the same time, that money which flows in, whether it was before the 18th Amendment or after the 18th Amendment, what have we done? Now, that is where I think this AI or data we need to know that will help us, that what difference have we done. For example, as I said earlier, if I compare to D.I. Khan, the situation in 2022 floods and Balochistan, they had the same amount of rain. But why was there more devastation in one province as compared to the other? We need to actually see those things and analyze that the fault lies in us. And it's not only politicians. Politicians, they may come and go, but they do take important decisions. But who are giving them the advice? For example, at the time of Hazrat Ali Radhiyallahu Ta'ala Anhu, people were, one of his aides was saying that, oh, at that time, at the time of Hazrat Umar, this was happening, at the time of Hazrat Umar, this was happening. And he kept on listening and he said, look, at the time of Hazrat Umar, I was his, I was giving him advice. I was the advisor. With me, you are the advisor. So who are giving the advice to these politicians? We need to see them. And unfortunately, these could be the think tanks, these could be the bureaucrats, these could be the politicians themselves. So how I see things, I think the problem lies in us. We as Pakistanis have to look back, have to take decisions based on merit, not on nepotism, based on merit, not on the basis of who is contributing more or who is more richer and powerful. So in that way, we can solve many of the issues. And trust me, the way things are in Pakistan, even if we don't get any more money, if we spend this money, what we have, judiciously, we'll be far, far better than many other countries that we are presently far behind them. But that's what I would say. So the flaws lies in all of us. And one more thing, do you know why? Every person calls me, and they are normal routine people, and this is where the flaws is. Dr. Saab, my son is getting admission over there. Can you please call them? That's the problem. This sifarish is the problem. I'm getting this thing done. Can you please help me? And my advice is always them. I said, look, if I tell somebody to give your son an admission, and if he does not deserve it, would you be able to help me at the time of hereafter, when I've taken away somebody's position and give it to your son? So why can we not all stop doing this thing? Stop giving the bribes and stop doing these things. That is the basic problem of us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Senator Sir. Just going to Ashfaq Sir. Very brief comment.
Yes, my main focus was and is on implementation. And I was thinking along devolving the responsibilities so that at the end of the day, it is not CCI, it is not the secretary, it is not the higher ups. It should be devolved. And that is why I said, let the VASAs, for instance, be strengthened. Let them have the budget and let them have the freedom to make projects and implement them. We should, as the government, support them, should facilitate them and provide them the means to an end. Instead of being the master, we should become a servant in order to help the implementation. That is the key. Once the devolution takes place and is legally supported, then what it would mean is that we will come out of the NFC formula, we will come out of all those interprovincial issues and changes of government. If the government changes in the province or in the federal government, as long as we have devolved and made an institution strong on the ground. Now, as of now, under the constitution, the federal government has very little responsibility in actually delivering the water to residential sector. It is coming in the provincial domain, and in the provincial domain, it goes into the municipal domain, and so on. So, if that part which is actually responsible and accountable and facing the people and community is strengthened, then this will be done. And in order to help them, not only that we should find resources from the budget, the government should also provide incentives such as tax incentives to banks and to investors to transparently invest into those schemes, and then we will be able to achieve the target. Focus should be on implementation. We are talking too much of policies, too much of analysis, and we are lost in that with all those donors and everything, and we are not accomplishing on the ground. That's my point.
Thank you very much, Ishfaq Sab, on the need of the implementation on the ground. Over to you, Khalid Hafiz Sab, for a very brief comment.
Very brief. Obviously, we need to think about mindset change for everybody to look at this as their prime issue, as like they check out their salaries in the bank by the end of the month, they should look at the water levels and the climate levels same time. So somehow with the bank statement, we should put down this climate statement as well for themselves to understand that they are compromising their future with what they're doing in terms of spending these resources. My second point is that politicians are here for a short time. Bureaucrats are there for a long time, but they have very short time with each project. Academics are there for life for each project. They take 30 years, 20 years to develop in that area for 30 years, researching that field. So if you want to help in policy development implementation, do seek out your local academicians. They've been working in there for sacrificing their lives, doing PhDs and afterwards, day and night. So they have the expertise to look at things for a holistic solution. So policy making should evolve as it happens in Europe, that we were developing the policies for the parliament, not other way around. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Over to you, Tahir Ahmed Sab, last comment.
Thank you, Dr. Sahab. My comment starts with the question, then another question. Are we not collectively failed in dispensing with our responsibilities? Either it be politicians, bureaucrats, technocrats. I think we failed, and paving way the other institutions like Supreme Court indulging into the developing the recommendations for the water sector and maintaining a fund for the dam construction, and most recently the LIMS, involvement of the armed forces into the agriculture sector. And a beautiful line, second point is beautiful line is the time to collectively correct ourselves, to deliver it collectively, jointly, in coordination with all the stakeholders. And beautiful line from the morning presentations, knowing is not enough. We must apply, and it's time to walk the talk. Thank you.
Now we'll go for the two brief questions. Anyone who want to ask a question, please introduce yourself and then we be very brief. Please, can you give the mic, Hafsa? Can you please get the mic and Anyone has a question? Please raise your hand. Yes, please. They will bring the mic just for a minute.
Assalamu alaikum. I'm Dr. Kausar Takreem and I'm from University of Peshawar. It's not a question, it's just a comment as everyone was giving the ending comment. So from my side is that not to blame each other. It's a collective action to secure the water and food systems here at Pakistan. And every one of us should be aware of that way that we failed. We cannot blame each other. But I will agree with the AI person that whatever we bring to us whether it is technology or whatever it is, but unless and until we are involving academia with our major decisions, that is not possible. I was at China and they were showing us their AI achievements. We were there in the city of AI, and one of us questioned the president there that how did you achieve such a great target in a very short time of period? And he said that we involve academia in each and everything, and we develop projects on their thesis projects. So my comment is also the same, that the government, the bureaucrats, whosoever is there in taking any major decision, they should include academia in that.
Thank you very much. Now we'll just looking at the time, I will invite Dr. Mark Smith, who's the Director General, and he has more than 25 years of research and program management experience in water sources, agriculture, climate, and sustainability. Dr. Mark Smith also served as the Global Program Director of Water Program Director in IUCN, leading innovatives and solutions in Asia, Africa, and Latin America. And he has worked in Australia, he has worked in UK and many other countries. Over to you, Dr. Mark, please.
Thank you, Mohsin, and thank you for the opportunity to provide a synthesis for what has been a really rich discussion. I am not someone, obviously, who is very deeply embedded in the ins and outs of policy in Pakistan or water policy and food and agriculture policy in Pakistan. So I listened as someone who was seeking to learn, and I felt that I learned. I felt that I learned a lot from your discussion, and I hope that our colleagues in the audience who are much more deeply knowledgeable about these issues also found our discussion very valuable. So first, thank you to all of our panelists for your comments. We started with the comment that the question that that there are a plethora of water-relevant policies in Pakistan. And so do we have enough policies or do we need to be doing something new? We talked about there being a graveyard of policies in Pakistan. And so I felt that as we went through the different inputs and comments, indeed, as that rather naive listener, I found that what we got was something of a structured diagnostic for water policy in Pakistan, which started with the point that priorities for water policy in Pakistan are not clearly set. We heard about the importance of health and understanding the way water policy relates to health and the costs and benefits that there are attached to that, the importance of water policy with relation to, of course, irrigation, that is not often sufficiently evidence-driven, and the priorities that are set are not sufficiently evidence-driven. Similarly, for infrastructure and disaster risk reduction and flood management, what is the infrastructure that's needed? Do we have the data? Are we using the data to help us make those decisions better? How do we ensure that we're sufficiently investing in innovation and making space for the application of innovation, both in developing policies and in the implementation of policies? Are we opting too often for the complex solutions instead of rather of simpler? The example given was rainwater harvesting and groundwater recharge wells, instead of opting for what might be rather simpler solutions, and then making sure that we're preparing for climate change. So a framework there of very potentially clear priorities to help make the priorities clearer to those involved. Then what about agriculture? We heard earlier this morning that that water systems transformation is a food systems problem, because so much of water withdrawals are used in agriculture. And the point was made that here in Pakistan, indeed, that combination of water security and food security has a direct link to national security, and yet the financial allocations going into the agricultural sector have been falling, by the sound of it, by a large proportion. So what then should be the priorities for agricultural water management, for policies for agricultural water management? And we heard about the importance of focusing on the development of command areas rather than necessarily building new things, and managing hill torrents to better harvest, to better secure the water from those sources. And that there was a general lack of policy cohesion that was a barrier to better policy for agricultural water management. Then what about drinking water? The problem here was a lack of implementation. The point was made that the SDGs, SDG 1 and SDG 6 in relation to poverty and safe water, that they are manageable and can be achieved, was the point made. But the gaps in implementation are so wide in relation to funding, in relation to bureaucracy and red tape, and so that institutional arrangements are such a problem in relation, especially to the delegation of authority and the delegation of funds. In relation to drinking water, one of the related priorities is pollution and controlling pollution, and opportunities for cleaning and recycling of water in Pakistan. Then we heard about what I think is one of the key issues that came up in the discussion around lack of accountability. So means of implementation and lack of accountability, and how that might be overcome. And finally, in this segment, the importance of focusing on integrity. We heard about blue-eyed contractors, which I didn't really know what they were, but I assume it's not a good thing. Then how do we use digital, and how can that help? Clearly with delivering, the message was delivering into the data deficit that the sector suffers from and that policy formulation suffers from. And finally, the point about inclusion, what we heard was, yes, there's certainly a lot of complexity. There's a bottom-up element around smallholder farmers, landless people, marginalized people, women, but there's also complexities in the political system here in terms of fairness, equity, accountability, and the way the federal system works. So that was the diagnostic that we heard. So I was then asking myself, does that diagnostic provide us indeed with a framework that can help move forward in ways that help address and reduce this problem that we heard at the beginning about a lack of cohesion? And I would suggest that it does, that there is within that, what we've heard is a framing for priorities around agricultural water, drinking water, new data, new opportunities for using data to improve the way policies are developed and implemented, the institutional arrangements, the importance of inclusion, and this key question of accountability, and the ways to develop that and deepen that, including through, as we heard in one of the comments, including through collective action and bringing a collective action element to this challenge of water policy in Pakistan. So, as I say, for me, I learned a lot. I hope everyone found that a very valuable discussion, and I again thank our panelists for their very learned and wise input. So, thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Mark. We'll break now for 15 minutes for a tea, and then again the next session will start at 4:15. Thank you.